RB&D Reviews. I'm Rob, and today I'm going to be reviewing a very interesting Sherlock Holmes movie. It's called Sherlock Holmes and the Deadly Necklace, and it stars Christopher Lee as Sherlock Holmes and Thurley Walters as Dr. Watson. Now, the movie is, it was made when Christopher Lee had just become a very big horror star in England and was also becoming in demand in Europe. And it was made after he appeared in the 1959 film The Hound of the Baskervilles, where he played Sir Henry. With The Deadly Necklace, the film's credit says that it's based on the last Sherlock Holmes novel, The Valley of Fear, but it bears very little from that story.
An old friend of ours has been going to the docks recently and waiting about for all the ships coming from Benghazi.
Oh, an old friend? Who?
Moriarty. And I intend to find out why.
But Holmes, we all know that Moriarty is the greatest criminal in the country. Why don't the police do something about him?
Take care, Watson. If it should ever come to the professor's ear that you call him a criminal, you may very well find yourself sued for slander.
Oh, but we all know.
Knowing and proving something are two very different matters, Watson, as I need hardly remind you. It's my duty to bring him to justice.
Pretty much the story is Sherlock Holmes investigates the disappearance of a Cleopatra's necklace, and he believes it was stolen by the respectable Professor Moriarty. But when Scotland Yard won't help him, Holmes and his faithful sidekick Watson are out to recover that stolen necklace and prove that Moriarty really is a criminal genius. Christopher Lee, he's looks perfect as Sherlock Holmes. He looks like the drawings from the books, and he kind of also resembles Basil Rathbone, who played Sherlock Holmes in the 1930s and 40s movies. He also plays him faithful to the stories because he plays him as a very difficult person to be with, and Lee, I thought, brought a very good authoritative presence to the role. But when Holmes is in disguise, it's like he's actually playing the disguised characters. It's not like he's playing Holmes in disguise. It's like he brings different characterizations to him. And the actor who played Moriarty, I thought he looked really perfect in the part. He looks like an evil wolf. But I did have some problems with this movie. For one thing, this movie was made in Germany, and at that time, German films were shot silently, and they would be dubbed into different languages later. And according to Thurley Walters, when this movie was shot, it was shot with an international cast. Like, he describes a scene where, in one scene, English actors would be saying their lines in English, and then a German actor would say their lines in German, and a French actor would say their lines in French, and sometimes the language thing got a little bit confusing after a while. And that explains why sometimes the voices don't always match up with the words, with the mouths. And it's also hard to get used to not hearing Christopher Lee's voice as Holmes, because Lee and Walters were not brought in to dub their voices into the movie. Holmes' voice kind of sounds like an arrogant American, and when he disguises himself as a sailor later in the movie, it just sounds awful. Some of the voices were cartoonish, and some of the humor, I think, got lost in the dubbing. But with Thurley Walters as Watson, he looks the part, and the voice that they got for him as Watson was one of the better ones, I think. But he does kind of bumble around like Nigel Bruce's Watson from the Basil Rathbone films, and he does kind of bungle the
Tell
plot.
the truth, Mr. Holmes. I didn't feel absolutely sure you would acknowledge my invitation.
My dear Professor, how could I possibly forego the, shall we say, pleasure of your company?
Feelings entirely mutual, dear Mr. Holmes. Frankly, I do regret you have such an opinion of me.
Oh, but I have nothing against you personally, Professor. On the contrary, the fertility of your imagination greatly impresses me. This afternoon, for instance, at Scotland Yard, a masterly performance. Masterly. And now, Professor.
I shouldn't be surprised if you were a natural mind reader, Holmes. As it happens, I was thinking of making you a proposal.
The story itself was okay. I mean, I did not feel any suspense, or I wanted to know what was happening next. The movie, I didn't think had any thrills. There were a few twists I did not see coming, but the movie looked like an episode from an old TV show. Take advantage of the photography or the lighting, and I felt like it could have been a little bit more atmospheric. It could have had a little bit more suspense. There were some scenes like where Holmes is talking to Professor Moriarty outside in the park that were very good, but I felt like it just didn't take advantage of the suspense. The scenes that had good banter between the two of them, and the movie has a jazz score which sounds like it belongs in a James Bond movie like Dr. No. Occasionally there is some atmospheric music, but I felt like there wasn't enough. But, the movie, it's got some very good sets, and it takes a very good advantage of the locations. And there were a couple jokes that did work, like when Holmes is talking about the times. Christopher Lee and Walter Thurley and the director Terence Fisher later said that this movie wasn't very good. Lee described it as a mess, and he said it was a hodgepodge of stories put together that was messed up by the German producers. And Overall, I thought the movie was okay. It's not a great Sherlock Holmes movie. I think if you're a fan of Sherlock Holmes or Christopher Lee, it might be worth a look, but to me, it's an okay movie. It's not anything great. And the film is also in the public domain, so please watch out for those cheap DVD companies' copies of it. Some of them aren't good. Lee would go on to play Holmes in 2 more Sherlock Holmes movies for TV in the 90s. So that's my review of Sherlock Holmes and the Deadly Necklace. Feel free to leave any comments you have about the movie.